Hey kids, join the club. Get the all-new CCXCC t-shirt made with 100% mutant power. Be like these cool kids. Get it now on dinobeast.com and chrisandersoncomics.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club. With me as always is John Coates. John, how you doing?
I'm terrific tonight.
Awesome. And back with us, once again, we are lucky to have the King Megatrip himself, Matt King. How you doing, man?
Excellent. Thank you. Glad to be back. Had a blast last time, even though it hasn't aired yet. I had a blast and happy to be here tonight.
Well, it'll have aired by the time this one comes out, but
that's true.
Yeah. So you wanted to come back on because you have a little interesting artifact to share with this issue. You want to hold it up real quick? We'll take a flip through that after we go through the whole issue. But
sure.
What do you got?
So I've been trying to keep up with you guys, reading week by week, and now I was doing it with the episodes as they aired, but since you had me on, now I'm like trying to keep up with you guys as you record. So I was reading the Epic collections, and that went to like issue 110. So I had to switch over because the next Epic collection is out of print. So I'm now onto the Masterworks.
Okay.
So that gets me up to 130. Or this one gets me up to 120. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we're doing 117 tonight. I'm like reading it, and I've read a lot of these as a kid, and I'm like, this one's like burned in my brain. I'm like, why is this one so familiar? So I'm like thinking about. They published this paperback size X-Men issue where they cut up the pages into panels, and this is 1982. This book.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we could do a flip through after, but I'll just quickly just show like. So here's 3 panels from one page. You know what I mean? That's how they're presenting it. So it's all in black and white, and just the images were really like when they do we'll get there, but the Psy War and the samurai, it's just like really stuck in my head, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to come on for this if you want me.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dig into the issue. We're at 117. We've made it. Our ex buds have finally escaped from the Savage Land. Sort of. They're trying to. I mean, they're out of the frying pan and into the fire a bit because they got to get through a storm, as we will see. But then we're going to be taking a little bit of a left turn. So let's take a look. First of all, this cover is pretty awesome.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
This like weird yellow flame monster. You don't know what's going on. And then just a couple heads. And it's like kind of like off. It's not like a central figure or anything, it's like really kind of weird.
We got a jacked, shirtless Professor X who's oiled himself up, and the oil is splashing off of him. It's kind of an odd choice of coloring, but like it's pretty cool.
And right on the cover, they're not going to bury it. The Saga of Professor X.
Yeah.
Psy War. And as we get into it, it's not a theory, but I would say I think this is the first issue of X-Men where Professor X is actually cool.
Okay.
Definitely in the new X-Men that we've been reading. And, he's always just been kind of a dick when he's kind of mean or kind of... bites at people, or he's just kind of irrelevant.
Right.
That's kind of his the two ways he's existed so far. But like Claremont does some great stuff here that actually really develops the character.
Yeah.
And then actually makes him seem cool. And we'll see as we get going.
That creature has like lightning bolts in its eyes, huh?
Yeah, it's like little Yeah, it's like weird little pupils.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's dive in.
Did you guys make a note when the title, like, they start putting Uncanny X-Men on the cover? I guess I just hadn't noticed yet, but
I don't know if we mentioned it. It's been a couple issues now, hasn't it?
yeah, I'm flipping back to this master. It looks like it's maybe 114 was the first time. Yeah, maybe 114. So
yeah, because I feel like they were including Uncanny like here in the titles in the page,
but not on the actual cover.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the cover for a while.
Cool.
Interesting. I wonder why they decided to start calling it the Uncanny X-Men. Do we know that?
Probably just because it sounds cool. Like Spider-Man's always been the Amazing Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk and Fantastic Four.
So they're just bringing it up to the level of all the other big hits now that this thing is like taken off.
Yeah, they had to get an adjective in there.
Definitely.
So here we go, Psy-War.
Claremont, computer graphics Psy there.
Yeah, like computer.
Very 1970s. This is a computer.
We get Terry Austin on inks, Clem Robbins on letters here.
Interesting.
And Glynis Wein on colors again.
From the screen, so it says Clem Robbins on letters, and then there's some other, I can't see on the screen what it says, and it says Roger Stern on the other side. Who's listed in between? Because in the Masterworks it's just like blank. So
between Robbins and Stern,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah, that's Glynis Wein.
Who's got a credit there?
Glynis Wein.
Okay.
On colors.
Yeah, because she wouldn't have colored the Masterworks probably.
Right. It was recolored. Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's this interesting pattern here where it's like, Len Wein's wife is a colorist, and then you had Bernie Wrightson's wife was a colorist, and then the last issue that we looked at, it was Art Spiegelman's wife is the colorist. And I don't know if they were married at that point, but interesting.
Yeah. And like when we were doing Iron Fist, we mentioned Chris Claremont's wife at the time because she shows up as a character in the book, and she also helped write some stuff and did colors.
Interesting.
For Marvel also.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So we mentioned, Chris mentioned in our previous issue, the X-Men saved the Savage Land, and now they want to go home, so they build a raft and just kind of go right into the ocean here, Cape Horn between Antarctica and South America. And what do you know? It's a crazy storm, and they're having problems.
Yeah.
I love that they built a raft with a cabin with windows and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
They're handy.
Mm-hmm. And so everybody's struggling. I love the way Colossus looks in this top panel is so good.
Yeah, that's a really good Colossus drawing.
Mm-hmm. And everybody is like trying to figure out, like, Banshee can't use his sonic scream. Storm can't really control the weather. It's too crazy. She can't do anything. But eventually they spot a big boat coming through here. And these guys on the boat are talking, and they're like, well, it's a miracle that there's somebody out there. And they rescue the X-Men, and they find out it's a Japanese crew heading back to Japan.
Right,
like
on some sort of secret mission, right? So they can't. One of the crew members is like, no, you can't bring him in because of the mission that we're on, and the captain's like, no, I can't. I have to follow the rules of the sea, basically, right?
Yeah. The X-Men just want to use like the radio. They're like, we just need to call home so we can get out of here. And they're like, nope, secret mission. You cannot make a call until we get to Japan.
Yeah. I noticed too that Byrne is doing everything he can to not have to draw the ocean. It's a couple little shots, but But
Right.
Uh-huh. He does a great job with all the weather effects, though.
yeah.
Like it really feels like a crazy downpour.
We also learn here that Storm, because my first thought was like, why isn't Storm just like stopping the weather? She is super powerful and weather is her thing. And they mention here that like it's brought her to the limits of her power. She's doing the best that she can. It would be even worse if she wasn't doing what she's doing, but it's not much.
Right.
Yep. I love how the Japanese crew, they see him and they're like, oh, they've got these costumes on. They must be S.H.I.E.L.D. or Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because they're Americans, so they have to. They're the superheroes.
Yeah, not third-rate X-Men.
Yeah. So now we get our first little. We're going to cut away from our main team and check back in at the mansion. And back home here in New York, Jean Grey is leaving the mansion to go sort of live her life because if we recall, she thinks the X-Men are dead.
Yep.
And
then she thinks they're all dead, right?
Yep. And our Princess Lilandra here, who's hanging out on Earth for a while until she can take the throne with her new lover, Charles. So she's hanging out here, and Jean's just like, okay, I'm out. And Lilandra's trying to figure things out, and she's sad that the X-Men are dead, and then she's going to, like, make coffee for the professor if she can remember how to do it.
Yeah. Chucky's in love with the bird lady.
Right.
What do you think, Chris? Like, okay, so Cockrum...
If she can only remember...
Yeah.
Cockrum, he makes the design for Lilandra and gives her these like crazy little eye tattoos and stuff. But like, what if you're the next artist?
I love that.
And like, Burns coming in, he's got to be like, oh my gosh, now she's like a main character in the book, and I got to get these designs right every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the craziest design. You could imagine. Cockrum did love to do those like sort of spider webby things, which I think would be a pain in the ass to draw every single time. But I feel like he's also like he has covered her up a lot more. Her outfit's not as intricate as it used to be, so he's simplifying some stuff. But the thing is Byrne doesn't really shy away from details, we know, and especially like when it comes to backgrounds and things like that. So I don't know that he would have minded it so much, but I did think it was really funny when his first issue, Cockrum just dumped 50 new characters on him. But so when you get a moment like this, I feel like a lot of parts of this issue were sort of like either the script called to give Byrne a break because there's not a lot of crazy stuff. Even when it does get crazy, there's not a lot of elements, to it. And there's these quiet moments that's just like, talking in the mansion and stuff like that. So either the script didn't call for it, or this time Byrne was just like, I need to chill out on this one. I drew way too much last issue, and I'll hit the ground running again next issue. That's kind of how this issue felt for me.
Yeah.
Right. So the Cockrum design of Lilandra here, like I hate her hair. I hate it. But in the second panel here, when you kind of get the shot of her back of her head, he does a really great job. Like it's crazy, It's like, remember when they were drawing Wolverine and nobody could quite get it? The profile, it's one thing to draw it, I guess, straight on another profile, but to get the dimension of what's going on there with the feathers or hair or whatever it is,
Yeah, I feel like Byrne.
I don't know. I think he did a great job with that.
Yeah, I feel like Byrne was the first one, I think, to really nail the back of Wolverine's head. And even the first time he drew him, he didn't get it quite right. I think that was in Iron Fist, right? But then as it went along, there would be some back back shots of him where he really got it. And like you said, like he kind of nails it here, which is I always thought that this was like a crown or something, but I guess it's her feather hair. But
yeah,
but,
Cockrum always he would just black that out. He would just
totally.
do just the outline, and then you're right, Matt. Byrne kind of figures out how to make it look like feathers.
Yeah,
like a peacock or something, all just coming back, and you see the rest of her head. And now it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like Byrne took the time to sort of maybe do some turnarounds of characters if he was having if he knew it was going to be a difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like I like these pages here because you get to see like a character just moving through the mansion. And I'm always kind of a sucker for like for that kind of motion and getting to see all these different angles of like the house where the X-Men live,
mm-hmm.
Even
as
though
well
it gets destroyed every 6 issues, but
yeah. And then rebuilt. Perfect.
Yeah.
I like how Lilandra is thinking like, at least I can metabolize the local food.
Yeah, I thought that was a great touch.
Right?
Yeah.
Little reminder that she's an alien. So like maybe she wouldn't be able to eat Earth food, but like luckily she can do that.
Yeah.
So here she's knocking on the prof's door, and now we get to see into his big study here, and she's brought him bagels and salmon and cream cheese and coffee and the works, and he's just like, I'm not hungry. Because he's still mourning for like his X-Men that are all dead. And she kind of talks to him about it. Yeah.
I like how he's got the 2 photos. He got the photos of both generations of X-Men here.
Oh yeah.
The second to last panel,
Yeah, that's a great thing that like they kind of carry forward through X-Men, is like the teams change, then they'll have like 2 or 3 group shots of teams on the walls, and you always get like the new guy looking at the photos being like, oh man, do I fit in or not?
Mm-hmm.
Class of 1979.
Yeah, right.
So here we go. Now we're getting to our main story, and the professor is telling Lilandra about his past and why he formed the X-Men. And we get this great shot here with like his head, and then like inside it is all these like memories of his life.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated by montage shots in comics. There's a couple people who do it really well.
Yeah, this is a really good one, I think.
Yeah.
And so here's like they've hinted at before that the professor and Moira McTaggart had a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And here he comes right out and says that they were in love. And so you see them at the top, but then he gets drafted and he goes off to war, and this is the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets a Jane Doe letter while he's serving, and she just dumps him out of the blue. And they were engaged, and so she breaks off the engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, he's all psychologically, just trying to deal with that after he gets out. And so he says he's just kind of bumming around the Mediterranean, meeting people, doing stuff, hanging out.
So he's been like bald since he was like at least 18 years old, right?
Yeah. He's like I don't know why. His brain
Alopecia
was
or
so
something,
strong,
maybe. Yeah.
It just killed his hair.
Mm-hmm. It all went to his eyebrows.
Uh-huh.
He makes up. He beat me to it.
So this gives us our first kind of like, I don't know, like story of the professor and like all these things that he's done in his early life, and it kind of like already starting to flesh him out as like a real person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this gets really good here. So the professor, then he ended up in Cairo, where he was going to hang out in Cairo for a little while. And so he's walking in the streets, and oh, what do you know? Look at this little kid who steals his wallet. And here's a little kid, Storm, who was a pickpocket in Cairo. Great. Like, what a great way to like sort of like connect them like early on.
Yeah. At first I was like, come on. But you know, as the story went along, there's a little bit of she acts as a trigger for something here. So that worked. Then that worked for me.
Yeah.
He has a hard time drawing kids.
Is it Chris?
Hmm.
Chris, is this your first time reading this issue? Have you never read this one?
Correct. Yeah, I've never read it before. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, so I could see when you saw baby Aurora here, you know, you'd think that it's like too convenient, you know, but
right.
The whole story doesn't revolve around her. So that's, you know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so the only way the professor, he stops her with a mind bolt to catch up to her to get his wallet back. But by him doing that, somebody else sensed his abilities, someone else nearby, and that person lashes out and basically gives him a mind bolt that like almost knocks him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course he says, I've never encountered such raw power or such malevolence.
Damn.
Oh, Psy War is heating up. So it's coming from this saloon. And so the professor, he's going to investigate, you know. He's got to. He's a man of action. So we get him coming into this great sort of dark, kind of seedy looking location here. And he just kind of sits down and he's trying to probe everyone in the room with his mind, but he can't find whoever this bad person was. So he's like, oh, I'm just going to have to hang out until they make the next move. And here we get in this final panel here. Here's our bad guy. Our eyes met, and in that instant, the gauntlets were thrown without a word being spoken. We were bitter enemies.
Ooh.
Bitter enemies. And this is really great here. As Claremont continues, we spoke mind to mind, and my skin crawled as I felt his thoughts. It was like swimming in a sea of maggots.
I love that description.
Ooh.
I have a feeling that the thumbnail for this is probably going to be a drawing of the Shadow King made out of maggots.
Nice. I
That'd
love
be good. And yeah, he introduces himself. I am Amal Farouk. And it is interesting here. So yeah, this is the Shadow King, but he never calls himself that in this issue, though.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't come up. He's just Amal Farouk.
I love that drawing of him, the close-up of his face.
Yeah, right here with the little dark glasses.
Yeah, that's some great cartooning.
Yeah, and the Shadow King here is, he's basically telling the professor, like, hey, like you're like me, and he's basically saying that we're above regular people,
right?
And we control them, and whatever you want to do, you can do it. And it's totally, it's like totally fine because, we're the top.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said, I sense we are kindred spirits, you and I. Join me, stranger. I will show you pleasure and power beyond your wildest imaginings. And the professor, of course, he's not going to go for it. He's like, at what cost to your victims, thief master?
Yeah.
And he responds, does the lion concern himself with the feelings of his prey?
Yeah, that's a pretty great line,
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think of basically, that's probably the thought process of early man just trying to survive, but then also people nowadays who just crave power. It's the same sort of MO. To hell with whoever gets in my way. I'm going to take what I need.
Yeah. So basically, like, yeah, this guy is like, he's like the ultimate evil version of the professor.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like they're two sides of the same coin, and he's like the worst possible incarnation of like evil that the professor is afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of a mutant.
When that psi power bursts through your head, I guess it fries the follicles in your scalp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Farouk is also bald.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go.
Must be a
Psi power
masculine
is-
thing because Gene's got a full head of hair, unless that's a wig.
Oh yeah, that's true. And here we go to the next page. Psi War is on.
Boom, here we go.
And as telepaths, so they just leave their bodies behind, and they're going to fight, you know, on the in their astral forms, in sort of an astral plane kind of world.
Love it.
Yeah. And so immediately now Farouk, he grows into this like huge jacked up dude, and now they're in this like weird Ditko style, you know, realm.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, this is so reminiscent of Ditko Doctor. I'm on a break from it now, but I was reading all the Doctor Strange stuff chronologically, and that all that Ditko stuff is just this total astral plane stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Those are that stuff is great stuff. That Doctor Strange, the Ditko, and then up into like Brunner and
Frank Brunner, yeah,
and Colin,
yeah,
fantastic stuff. Yeah,
doesn't it look like he could he could be Silver Surfer on that plane right there on that last panel?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
even on the board,
it's like the white silhouette.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this next page, where he goes, Farouk goes into that samurai. You know, he adopts that samurai look. And what's the Professor X, like a conquistador kind of character? Like,
yeah,
what that is?
Or
that
gladiator.
look?
I think.
Is that a samurai thing too?
Yeah.
Gladiator. Yeah. So this is the stuff that I just is burned into my brain from a kid reading this paperback. It was just like all these black and white images of the samurai versus gladiator stuff.
Yeah, it's a chance for Byrne to do some cool action and figure drawing too, because there's no backgrounds in this.
Right.
This stuff is so much fleshed out compared to like Giant Size X-Men #1 and 94, 95. Like this, you could really see an evolution in storytelling and art and the whole package.
Absolutely.
No wonder that this stuff was so fascinating to me as a kid,
Yeah, definitely. And like this is a great like visual way to have these guys like dueling, doing this mind duel to like give them this cool armor and swords, and then like energy swords, awesome stuff. And the Shadow King here is, of course, like way better than the professor at all this, because he's got more practice, he's got more experience, and he's getting the best of the professor. And we see down here in the bottom panel that when his form is sort of struck in the astral realm, like his actual body is like taking the beating as well. So now he looks singed and stuff. So what affects him in his mind is going to also hurt his body. Yeah.
He does an interesting thing. Austin does in that top panel with the lines on the hand, and I'm trying to figure out how he did it. It looks like he might have like made some straight lines and then gone over it with like white media or something, because it almost gives it an effect of like Zipatone, but it's not. That's ink work. And it looks really, really cool.
And the straight lines are like dashed lines too.
Yeah, that's why I think that he went the opposite direction with like a whiteout or something,
Yeah.
Or maybe a razor blade or something. I don't know how he did that. Really cool though.
Mm-hmm. Did I skip a page?
No,
No,
I don't think
no,
so.
no, we're good. We're good.
No, you're good.
All right. So now the professor, he's kind of figuring things out. Because he's fighting on Farouk's terms. I've been treating this like any other kind of physical fight, trying to match Farouk's skill at illusion when all that truly matters is matching his raw power. And Farouk turns into this awesome, here's our guy from the cover.
Yeah, like Frogman thing.
Yeah, it's like very like amphibian.
Yeah, it is almost frog.
Yeah. And the professor just seemingly just kind of gives up.
Yeah, it turns into an Academy Award.
Yeah.
I love the angle on the frog dude where you just see the top of his lip there, and like all the little noodling and stuff that they do in there. It makes it like just sort of like weird and you're like grotesque. I love that line work.
Yeah. And the professor says Farouk was changing forms like a chameleon, each one more horrible than the one before. I ignored them all as I focused my mutant power into a beam of incredible strength and shot it into his brain like a laser. Whoa, hardcore.
Whoa. Lobotomy much.
Uh-huh. And
I wish they would have showed more of the forms, but you know, you only got a minute.
They only have so many pages, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I love the scene now, like all of a sudden we're back.
Yeah, this is great.
The real world, and we just see the reaction of what happened with that laser blast to the brain, and just this slow Farouk just tumbling over, and the professor just standing up and leaving. It's so great. This little thud.
What a pain in the ass to draw. I bet he must have like drawn it and then drawn it maybe on like the background, I mean, like on a separate piece of paper, and then went and light boxed it 3 times. Right. Who knows if he would have had a Xerox machine, you know, accessible at this time, you know, to do it. But it's definitely not just like pasted on there, because you can see that you can see the slight differences in the inks, and especially in like the window and stuff like that.
Yeah, the doorway there. Take a look at the doorway. The lines on the, you know, they're different.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
But you know, I appreciate that. I always get bummed out when it's they have 3 panels and they're just photostatted over and over, you know.
Yeah. There's something the cold about it, you know.
I mean, I get sometimes you're going for that, you know, like there's a pause for effect or whatever, you know, but it's cool to see that, you know, the background, it had to be drawn each time, you know.
Yeah. No, it's more organic that way. I love it that way.
Yeah. And right here, as the professor sort of wrapping up his story, you know, he thinks this guy's dead. You know, he's like, I was in his mind when he died, and it was like a guided tour of hell. He was the first evil mutant I ever met, the first who made me realize how truly deadly mutant powers could be in the wrong hands. Yeah, and that's why he had to form his X-Men.
And I love how we opened this telling of the story with that montage with his face on the side and his thoughts, and then we ended on sort of the same thing with this great.
Yeah, they bookend it, right?
Yeah, and it's just framed so well off of his head too into the shadow. Well done.
I agree.
And I love that sequence so much in that flashback.
Yeah.
And it sets up what a great villain to be the professor's first evil mutant he comes across. Like, that dude is like so much worse than Magneto. Like, he just seems so much more vile and everything. And it's like really gives you like, okay, this is really why he had to form the X-Men.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see that show? You ever see that show Legion?
Yeah.
Was on for like, I think 3 seasons. Yeah, Farouk plays a big part in that.
Yeah, that was my introduction to the character, actually.
Oh, right.
Sadly.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, like spoilers for anybody who hasn't read a lot of X-Men, but Farouk might not be dead and might return later. And we will see when that happens. And then he brings Lilandra up to speed, and then he's like, I went around to some other places for a while, and then I fought this alien, and that's when I was crippled and lost my legs.
Yeah,
and that's
X-Men
sort of
number 20.
X-Men 20, which is also a flashback issue.
Cool. There is an epic fail art-wise, I think, on this page with the shadow on Lilandra's face in that middle panel. Man, I think Austin is the one who chooses to put where to put the screen tones, and that screen tone looks just so bad. It looks like half of her face was fried.
You remember in that earlier issue where they used this kind of a weird screen tone like that, like on the Professor when he's like on that boat, like fishing.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yep,
like it's the same kind of almost like a crayon looking, like just sort of, and it didn't work then, and it doesn't really work here either.
Yeah, no, I think it's the if it was a finer grit or whatever, it would have been fine. But since it's so big, it looks like it looks like her skin is burnt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it actually doesn't even
could have been done better.
Yeah, it actually, like, looking closer, it almost doesn't even look like a screen tone at all. It looks like he did that with like some sort of, I don't know, tool, but I don't know. But anyway, regardless, it doesn't look right.
Yeah. And so Lilandra here is, trying to talk the Professor into continuing with his life, basically. And she says, "You cannot start again. There's nothing for you here, my darling. I offer you my heart, my soul, my life, my empire. Come home with me."
So that panel, I just want to quickly take a little side note. And these shelves behind me, I built last winter, and they're all collaged with comic book panels. And can you see it? Can you see it right there?
Oh yeah, there it is,
that's
right
that
there.
panel there, yeah. So it was funny when I saw that panel, I was like, that's where that's from.
Yeah.
So I don't remember where I collaged it from, but
that's all. That's how deep issue 117 is just in your psyche.
That's
man.
right.
It is.
Woo. And the Professor agrees. He's like, "Okay, I'll go with you." So the Professor has decided to leave Earth.
Wow.
And then we flash back again to see what Jean's up to. And she's at the airport, and she just happens to run across her roommate, Misty Knight, who is on her way to Japan after doing some stuff. And we get another little reference to Power Man and Iron Fist.
See, mine doesn't have that. When she talks about how she like nearly drowned, and then I love how she says something about, "Oh yeah, how are you? I heard you were in the hospital, roomie. Wait, what? Your roommate was in the hospital and you didn't go and see her? Like, huh?"
Yeah. And I love this great like little mention again of like Power Man, Iron Fist, because of like how at this point how close like Claremont was trying to keep those books, like we saw with like when the X-Men show up in Iron Fist and Misty Knight keeps showing up in X-Men, and he's like writing them both.
Yeah, that's his little corner of the Marvel universe, so he wants to keep it together a little bit, I bet.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then Misty's off to Japan, and Jean is just like, she says, "Give Scott my love," and Jean's just like, "Sure," because like Misty doesn't, she doesn't know the X-Men are dead, and
right?
Yeah, Jean's not gonna
throw
that info at her right then.
That's a weird conversation,
right before
all around. It's like
sure.
It's like so like it's almost like like I'm sure you've both had roommates before when you're younger days, right? Like you become friends with these people because you are, you live together, you become so close, and they're just sort of acting like as like a divider between their lives. And like if she's in pain because all of her friends are dead, you think that she would just kind of be like, my roommate, my confidant, I need to tell you, they're gone. It's kind of just a weird conversation all around, but.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe Misty's been gone, doing her spy private eye stuff. So maybe she's out of town and
she's been in the hospital.
Oh, well, see, that's a good excuse too, right?
And Jean knew about it.
Well, she was busy.
Yeah, definitely busy. I like how the plane's taking off, and then you got like the Japanese old Japanese, well, the flag during World War II, I guess, right?
Yeah, the rising sun there.
Rising sun.
And it mentions here Jean like she shivers because for the first time since she joined the X-Men, she's alone.
Yeah,
on her own, and it scares the hell out of her. But the next issue, the submergence of Japan.
Whoa.
Which, as we remember, our X-Men are on their way to Japan, on a slow boat to Japan.
That's right. Well, cool. That is
in desperate search of a telephone to let everyone know they're alive.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A ham radio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there you go. That is 117.
Yeah.
But Matt, let's take a look at this this artifact that you've got here.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So paperback, 1982, and I started looking at it right before we recorded because I hadn't done an accurate assessment of, did they abridge it? Is every it seems like every panel's in here, which is crazy.
Is the whole book just this one issue? No,
good point. The first 2/3 of it is Giant Size X-Men #1.
Gotcha. Oh, weird. What a weird way to play.
Skipping it's
117.
Yeah, this is the back of it here.
Plus Psywar.
That looks so great.
So let's see, start here. So it's got the I'm sorry, here we go. Yeah, so the splash page is right there.
Okay.
The opening splash, and then the first panel is cut in two to make the second page of this story. That's if you look back, that's one panel that was cut lengthwise, into two panels.
It's smart.
Yeah.
Like whoever had to chop this thing up.
Right.
John, we got the little inset of the actual issue. Let's maybe flip through and follow along so we see how these were cut up.
Yeah. I see here. I can kind of hold this on my lap at the same time.
People are gonna have to squint, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know. I don't have the second camera set up where you guys have the nice.
No. We've got it. We've got it over on the side for the actual issue. So yeah, you just hold up the big, the big, or this one. Yeah.
So then the next page is the single panel.
Weird.
Right.
It's so interesting that they leave that much white space.
Look
around.
At all the dead space.
Fill that up. Yeah.
And then two more panels, and we're still on page 2, right?
We're on page 2. Yeah.
And then and it just goes on like that. I mean, they do a couple interesting things. So this one with the ship here at the bottom.
Yeah.
Now I feel like they've expanded. Isn't that a skinnier panel that they've? Yeah.
It is expanded.
So they've added some art. Somebody did some art stuff here on the side.
Weird.
I'm so bad with the camera backwards. I'm pointing at the wrong things, but so this was a skinny panel, and then somebody did some work on it.
Yeah,
it looks great in the black and white.
I know. I think that's why it really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd almost always rather read those essential books than like a reprint with that gaudy, awful color recoloring.
Right.
Mhm.
And so we're on to the so I guess we're on to the next page with the captain.
Uh-huh.
The captain here, and it's just so weird. That's like, what could they do? They just cut them up and like placed them. It's it's kind of crazy. And then so the mansion one they had, because it was such a wide panel, they had to like they actually cropped it.
Sure.
But
then look at this other page. What the heck?
Yeah, the next page is her coming. It's just her coming down the stairs.
Maybe it's all to kind of keep the lettering around the same size. Maybe that's the reason, but it's still like
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you plop it square in the middle of the page? Why?
Yeah, why not make it bigger?
I mean, to make it bigger would change the lettering size, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
If that theory was right, but why like not put it in the middle of the page? Why put it on like to the right?
Right.
And on the bottom? Weird.
So they get the panel of her coming down the stairs. It just goes on, cut up like that,
Crazy.
Got 4 panels here of her making the coffee and stuff.
Wow. What's the Psy-War stuff look like?
Yeah, definitely. I'm
really enjoying the black and white.
Here's the
oh, cool.
the
cool.
splash,
Huh?
Which they kept that. So obviously this is paperback size versus comic book size.
Sure.
But they keep the lettering. So that's a full page splash, but the lettering is still the same size as everything else, So they do keep it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's consistent.
Yeah. So there definitely some work was put into it. Let's get to that Psy-War stuff, like John said.
Who published it?
Great question. It says on the cover, Marvel Illustrated Books.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna do some research on that.
Division of Cadence Industries Corporation. Yeah, there's no Penguin or anything listed on here.
Yeah. I don't know the state of publishing in 1980.
Right. Look at Farouk here.
Yeah, he looks cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Full page.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I always like the shadow here on the brim of his hat,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Farouk comes down. Let's get to the Psy-War stuff here. Yeah. So here's a little bit. So that Ditko S panel gets blown up.
It's great where it's like it's the only panel on a page.
Right.
Like you can just pause and really like just stare at it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then just flipping back one. Unfortunately, I was hoping the close up of Farouk here would be like full page. You know what I mean? Like Chris pointed out when we were going through it, what a great, all the folds of the fat.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, like, I wish they would have blown this one up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, you got so much white, you could have expanded it.
It's really weird.
Yeah. But just like the samurai and the gladiator stuff, I just totally remember seeing this.
Yeah, that's great. Especially the one with the close up of him as a samurai. That's so good. And look at the hand on it. Yeah, that's the one where his hand is like.
Right. You were talking about the inking there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess just this vivid black and white stuff of this battle. Like way more, I remember, how it's like, it says plus Psy-War in this book. Like,
yeah,
this is what I remember. I don't remember Giant Size X-Men in this book at all. At all. You know what I mean? Well, that's not true. So I just flipped through and I saw Colossus with the tractor. So I guess I do, I guess I do have memories of all of it. But
what a weird 2 issues to put together in their paperback.
Right.
It is very strange.
Well, it is like Professor X's kind of one of his, adventures of. Yeah, you're right though, because none of the other X-Men are in it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, how many one-offs have we had since? Not many
Right.
one-offs. Everything has been like a couple issues,
Yeah, 111 to 113 was some of my favorites. That that's a 3-issue gig.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Pull back up that page where Farouk gets, where he like collapses. Yeah, that on the right hand there. So that's.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's like they redid that whole panel.
Yeah.
And like blew it up really big.
And then cropped it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
and put
point,
the
good
professor
point.
in the background leaving.
Right.
Huh.
Like they
They
did some
did.
work.
It was done. It was done 3 times in the issue, right? Is that what we're? Yeah, and they only do it. So they do abridge it, slightly here. It's only done.
But they had to cut the foreground element out and move it over on top of.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Somebody
Good eye, John.
Somebody redrew that, like on that big panel. That's drawn by somebody else, right? Just aping Burns' style there.
Or it's cut.
Yeah, it might just be cut out.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone did a lot of work to do that.
Wow. Good
Cool.
eye,
That's
John.
cool.
Good eye.
Yeah.
Well, that's rad.
Anyway, so there you go. That's a bit of my childhood.
Cool. Well, that's really awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. I want to find that. I want to find out the story behind that. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, I'm gonna track down a copy because I want that that black and white looks so good.
It does.
In that form, and yeah.
Do you have any of the essential of these issues in that essential like the phone, they call it the phone book collections? Do you guys have any of that?
I don't, but I like those collections.
Me neither.
I have some. I don't have the X-Men ones, but I have I kind of wish I did now, but
I think some worthy ones would be like Tomb of Dracula, to see you had Gene Colan's
I have those,
that.
Yeah,
and then
I have those.
I have Silver Surfer, the first one, which is great to look at with Buscema's stuff, but
I got the Tomb of Dracula, and then there's the Marvel, what was it called? Monsters Unleashed. Is that?
Yeah.
Zombie Tales of the Zombie or whatever. Those are cool. So we'll cover those after you get through the Claremont run.
Yeah, totally. So this is the classic issue. Obviously, there's coloring differences. We won't go through it. This is one of the first times that we've gone through the entire thing that there wasn't a interjection. They actually add it to the end here with a second epilogue 2. We go back to the ship. It says you've got Wolverine here looking at this torn up picture. I guess that's supposed to be Jean Grey. And it says
it's so weird. Such a stalker.
Yeah, such a stalker.
He totally stole that photo from somewhere. Like she didn't give it to him.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks at the picture every day as though an act of visualizing her will somehow bring her back to life. The thought of her being dead tears at his guts. A pain even his healing power can't make go away. Yet Cyclops, who's supposed to love her, acts like he doesn't feel a thing. All that matters to him is putting the X-Men through their paces. So he's got them he's still training everybody here. Drilling them, honing them more and more into a team. And for Cyclops, the leader, Wolverine can't deny a grudging respect. But for Scott Summers, the man, and then we got Nightcrawler bamfing over the top of him here. Think fast, mine. Ugh! And he grabs him by the throat. This Wolverine, mein Gott. He said, "Relax. This is only an exercise. We're only playing. Sorry, I was thinking about someone else." Snicked. He says, "Well, whoever that poor soul is, if this is any indication of the way you feel, heaven help them." And then you get him. He goes, snacked. I guess snacked is him drawing him back. I didn't know that there was a sound effect for bringing him back. And then you get this kind of goofy drawing of Cyclops, like in a turtleneck, staring at him. And it says, "Cyclops, I've just informed the captain. I sense a storm coming, a bad one. In some ways, Aurora, it's already here." Dun dun dun.
It's so weird. There's nothing that's been shown in these issues that Wolverine should have these crazy longings for Jean. You know what I mean? It's just like straight stalker material.
Yeah, it's creeptastic right out the gate.
Yeah.
But it's the
like,
times, I guess. You know? It's like you pined for somebody and it was just like unrequited love or whatever, and now it's like you're a friggin' creep, dude.
Right.
Like, back off. So and then this is an interesting Bolton one. He draws the hell out of this. This is like I think this is my favorite Bolton drawn story. He actually has backgrounds and all sorts of stuff going on in here. But it says Nightcrawler's High Adventure. And so the morning after the worst night he can remember, Nightcrawler doesn't feel anywhere near so wretched as he does now. Around him, paradise wakes to greet the dawn. He couldn't care less. So it's the day after they're on this ship. And he's talking to Storm and like, can you like can you calm the seas down? She's like, I'm trying, man. And he's like laying there and waking out of the port window. He sees this woman falling. And so he bamfs out to grab her and they fall into the sea together, but he can't see the ship now. So he can't bamf them back. And he like, I guess he passes out or something and wakes up and the girl is gone. So at some point he got her name and everything because he's calling her name, you know, and you know, he's made a hat out of leaves and he finds her clothes. There's no blood on it, so that's weird. So he's like swinging through the jungle. He finds an old airplane here, and then you know, he's just like finding this old. He finds like a pith helmet, some old adventurer stuff. You know, he loves adventure, but he sees this this skeleton head here with a arrow sticking out of its mouth and knows that the guy's been murdered. And then all of a sudden, this really awesome, like Monkey King ape guy shows up. This is a really cool drawing. This is like something straight out of like a Frazetta illustration or something. Mm-hmm. But do you see how like Bolton doesn't do backgrounds? Like he's really getting into this one.
He must have been excited about this one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he tries to go shoot it. He found this gun and it just says fizzle. So he has to bamf out of the way.
I like that the top panel with him looking back at us. That's
here,
yeah. I like that one a lot.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And so he kind of boots him here and knocks the guy out, and then it says Jingurik Maru on his name here. I guess like his mom wrote his name on his clothes or something. And then there's like this like plate, this belt that has like a mountain on there, and he's like, I've seen this before. And he looks, and then it's the same as the peak. So that is that's handy. He knows where to go. So he bamfs over here, and then there's these like Cro-Mag kind of people. And he finds her, you know, she's in her underwear now because she lost her clothes. And this like priest who has white eyes, and she's struggling here to trying to sacrifice her. And then all of a sudden she just sort of like gives up and lays down, and he's about to sacrifice her. And he bamfs in, pow, right in the nose. I love this drawing. Just boop. And then you know, they start coming for him, and he this is great. So they're coming in, and then he bamfs out, and they knock each other out basically. But as she's laying there, this priest guy comes and lights his eyes up, and you know, starts to obviously he's got some sort of like, you know, psionic powers or whatever to be able to hypnotize people. and he starts to go down, and he's about to stab them both when he slams it down. You get this little bamf in between the panels, which is awesome. Like that, like how's that for like having a grasp on comics, to think to put it in the moment in between the panels, you know? Great little effect there. Yeah. And then he shatters the knife. And when he bamfs out, they're dangling off the edge, and he's like, just close your eyes and pretend it's a bad dream. So he's like, I think he's got her by his tail, and so he's able to pull her up, and then he fires off this flare, and that's the end of it. So like, it's really weird to kind of jump ahead like that. I'm not sure what we have in store for us in the future. I haven't read it yet. So like, does this come back? I don't know. It's kind of a weird little interlude.
Right. How does he get back to the ship?
And
I mean, obviously
the girl.
Yeah, and who is this girl, right? I know we have our adventures in Japan next, right? So it's going to come back. They must have picked him up. I'm wondering if like the next issue we pick up where they kind of like mention that something happened,
right?
Or it's just kind of weird.
John, have you read these the classic ones? Do you have a run of these? You've read these?
Yeah, I've read most of them. I don't remember this Nightcrawler one though.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
in my opinion, this is like the right way. Like, I don't like them adding pages in between the main story. But I like this, you know. You take elements from the story and you put it at the end of the issue. Like, I don't. Yeah, I would have been. It would have been very weird to see in between pages in issue 117 itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's some really ones that really hit well and fill in some interesting things, especially when you're considering that you're reading this 10 years in the future from when the issue was published. And then there's some that are just like, why? What was the point? You know? Right. But this one was fun, and it's weird. Like, I mean, maybe it's not weird because I haven't read further on, but like, all of a sudden he's like off the ship and has this whole other adventure.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, I don't know if they bring it up or not. This is cool. We get this Art Adams drawn Wolverine pinup in here. Last issue was the first time we've had a pinup. It was a Wolverine one from Frank Miller. This is Art Adams, inked by himself, 1982.
Can never get enough Art Adams, man. Never.
But it's interesting because it's like 5 years earlier than 5 or 6 years earlier than this was actually done, and it doesn't really look like Adams, and he's inking himself. So,
yeah, if you hadn't said it was Art Adams, I would not have been able to guess that.
Yeah, the inking is very influenced by Austin. You can't really tell it's him, especially since you lose the face in the printing.
Right.
And then you get this really cool Mark Chiarello pinup, where there's a lot of things that are not drawn and filled in by the color. And it says the inker is Williams. So I thought Scott Williams. And then I looked at the ink and I was like, this doesn't look like Scott Williams at all. Like, is this proto Scott Williams, like early Scott Williams before he developed it? And the answer is that it's not Scott Williams, even though it looks like his signature. It is sorry, I'm one-handed here because I got the dog on my lap. It is Kent Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So who's Kent? I don't know Kent Williams.
Oh, Kent Williams, sure.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he do?
He was Havoc. He was running around with,
right, like story, and it was like painted and stuff.
Oh, the painted. Oh, yeah. Yes,
right? That meltdown, right?
Yeah,
is it Meltdown?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay, now yes, I do know who that is. Then, very cool. Chiarello is an amazing artist, you know, and was like the art director at DC for for forever. Yeah,
Forever,
and
right?
that's
For a
the
long time.
issue. You get this.
Look at that! Look at that!
Yeah,
That's so Frazetta
yeah, it is.
right there. You know.
Yeah, Bolton must have like had an affinity for Zeta, and when he got the chance to, he went all out because that one with the monkey looking guy really reminded me of it.
Those sort of Cro-Magnon guys in every panel.
That's definitely like pulp era high adventure.
Yeah, totally, totally. This is
Love
cool.
it.
Adam's cover. This is 88.
Yeah, I love that. That's a real good one.
And then the inside.
Oh, Professor and the Anti-Professor.
Yeah, man. So cool. So cool. Well, crap, man. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Can you quickly put me on full screen? I just want to show you one more thing.
Yeah.
People might know me from producing Tales to Enlighten 1 and 2 with James Edward Clark, and the second book with 32 other artists, including Mr. Chris Anderson here. And I just wanted to mention, because like in the spirit of promotion, all your title cards that you sell the original art for, I was able to pick up this one.
You got
I just wanted to put it on camera here. It's so sick. I love it, dude.
That's a good one.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely love it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I had a blast tonight. If I come across another issue that I'm absolutely in love with, I'll message you. I want to get back on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's like the 3 issues I've been on for. We did I think 2 episodes last time. They're very, very like when I was a kid. Like I really remember them. Some of these issues come and go, but like I must have had. Like as kids, we didn't have like 72 boxes of comics on the wall. And it's like so we read them a million times. I must have read this many times. So when I started reading it, I was like,
yeah, that's awesome. That's true nostalgia. When it really hits, it's a hell of a drug, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I had a blast.
Of course. So people can find Tales to Enlighten on your shop, right? Still?
Yeah. My Etsy store is just Google King Megatrip Etsy. I think it's kingmegatrip.etsy.com. But
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put a link to it in the show notes, because if people don't have that yet, you need to get that. It's a feat in comics and storytelling. I call them the yellow pages and the white pages.
There you go.
They're just these massive tomes. Stay tuned to the end. You'll see a quick drawing of the thumbnail and a quick little thing where you could find out where you can get John's books and my books, and of course you can always buy the thumbnail of the episode on my website. So John, you got anything else you want to interject there?
No, other than this is one of those issues that just kind of pops out, and it's weird because the X-Men are barely in it, but it's so good. And it's the Professor, you're like, oh, now this guy's cool now.
Yeah, the X-Man is in it, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, next time I think it's I don't think we deviate yet. I think it's episode 1 or issue 1. What, 18?
118.
Okay. So get your omnibus, get your single issues, get your classics, get your Marvel Unlimited app out, get your
black and white paperbacks from 1981.
Yes, your stolen scanlations, whatever the hell you have to do to get the next issue, and get your butts back here next Wednesday when we go over issue 118. So until next time, everybody, stay excellent and all that business. Words. Bye.
Yeah.
Check out dinobeast.com for all things John Coates like Dino Beast, Ninja 4, MLF, Berserker, and more. ChrisAndersonComics.com is where it's at for books like Chaotic Neutral, Spectral, A Showcase of Fear, Lost Angels, and more, plus apparel and original art. Also a link to Patreon where you can read Three-Headed Pig Man now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We'll see you next time on the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club.